right, we're recording. David, how are you?
Very good. Yourself?
I'm great. Thank you for joining me again. It's the second time that we're speaking on the podcast. I was really looking forward to this because a lot's happened in the last 2 years.
Yes, and it's great to be back here as well. Thank you for having me. And yes, so much has happened. It's as if it's a whole different world now.
It really feels like that way, like that in a lot of ways. So the last time we spoke was at the end of 2019, I believe. Since then, you released your book. That's a great thing that I wanted to talk about. I just finished reading it for the second time, so it's fresh in my memory. And a lot's changed in the world. We've gone through 2 years of this pandemic, which has had a huge impact on everything from people's minds, state of mind, to a lot of people's careers and their well-being and stuff like that. I want to start by asking you, from your perspective, what do you think is the most profound change that's happened over the past 2 years in terms of people's consciousness and way of thinking?
I think there's a great impact on our state of consciousness, mostly on the fear level, but it's definitely a drop in consciousness. And once you start lowering your state of consciousness, then you sort of become a victim to your mental health struggles that we start to see. And not only in adults, but in children as well. A lot of stress, anxiety, also panic attacks. But I know during the pandemic, I was going into elementary schools to help kids, teaching meditations to help cope with, the fear, the change, the stress. There's just so much of an impact on, but that's all stemming from our state of consciousness that just drops. And we get more into, describing what exactly is a state of consciousness, but I mean, we all feel it and we all see it around us.
Yeah, so let's dig a little bit deeper into that. I know we kind of covered it a little bit in our previous discussion, and if anybody hasn't seen it, I recommend that you do, because you'll learn all about David's background and how he got into all this, the field that he's practicing right now. But yeah, tell me a little bit more about the state of consciousness right now, how it's been affected.
Okay, so just to describe a bit of what is a state of consciousness. So my personal experience, so I spent many years, exploring it and understanding it, the human state of consciousness, to the point where I had this realization, this understanding now, where, we always believe that we are a physical body, and our soul is somehow within our physical body, and that's who we are and how we explore the world, the physical material world around us. But actually, our divine soul, or our higher self, it remains in the spiritual realm or in heaven above. So that's where it remains. But it gives us an aspect of its divine consciousness embodied in our physical body. So we now have our initial state of consciousness. And with this initial state of consciousness, all the experiences we have are physical or spiritual experiences, whether they're good or bad, they all contribute. They're all learning experiences. So they contribute to the rise of our state of consciousness. And we can do meditation exercises to help us also transmute anything within us or within a relationship, any struggles, conflicts, negativity, suppressed energies, that also helps raise our state of consciousness. And every time we raise our state of consciousness, it's as if we're filled with a new wisdom and understanding. So we have this new perspective in life, and we're able to grow and carry on further and further. And we could keep raising our state of consciousness over and over again, up until our initial state of consciousness reunites with our higher self, with our divine soul. And once that happens, that's what we call enlightenment. So that's a very powerful experience, because once that happens, you're reunited with your higher self. It's as if your whole reality on life is shattered, and you're completely filled with divine knowledge and just understanding and wisdom, and just everything just falls into place, and you're filled with love. All your fears are shattered. So there's no longer anything on this physical material plane that will stem any fears within you, because you have this greater understanding now. And once you reach now this new state, all you're concerned with is with the greater good of all. So you have this divine connection with your higher self, this whole new perspective in life. And now you return and you're a new person now, and you want to help. You're filled with love, and that's the only thing that concerns you. You're no longer concerned with, materialistic and physical pleasures and, having all this abundance. You truly want to help, and you want to benefit the greater good. You want to help humanity. And that is a powerful experience that we should all strive, because that's how we will progress as with humanity. It's a very powerful thing. So that's, and it's not as complicated as it sounds to achieve. The first step is really just remaining conscious of all the experiences we have. Again, either good or bad, there's always an opportunity for growth and for learning. So the first step is just, everything that happens in our life, just trying to understand and remain conscious of everything that we're having, and never to avoid any physical experience. Okay, so sometimes, no, I don't want to go through that. So you keep putting it aside and avoiding it. But sometimes it's your higher self pushing you towards there. You need to have that experience. So you need to go through it. So that's when things just happen naturally. So now when we start practicing meditation, yes, there's these mindfulness exercises. We can listen to meditation, guided meditation tracks, music, and it definitely helps us relax. It calms the mind, the nervous system, our emotions. And they're very helpful in today's age. But if we do want to bring it a step forward now and start, how do we meditate to raise our state of consciousness, or even to self-heal, which we could look at that later on. But to raise our state of consciousness is a very simple exercise of contemplation. And I always, recommend it's a 10-minute meditation exercise in the morning. And we would do that for 22 days. And the 22 days could be a bit, spread out. You don't have to dedicate, back to back 22 days. And so what we're contemplating on is a major arcana tarot card. So I work a lot with tarot. And just to go back, one step back, is that our state of consciousness, I would say there's 22 aspects that, let's say, create the human state of consciousness. And each of these 22 aspects, they're associated with a path of the Kabbalah, the tree of life, a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and also a major arcana tarot card. So this is why tarot cards are powerful. It has nothing to do with divination and fortune telling. They're every major arcana tarot card, or every single card, is a key that unlocks a door in our consciousness that allows wisdom and understanding to pour in, that's aligned with our current state of consciousness. So every experience is different for everyone, because we all hold a different state of consciousness. So if I'm contemplating on a major arcana tarot card, or maybe a path of the Kabbalah, if I prefer working with the Kabbalah, or a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, whatever my tool is, the source of the divine energy is the same. So they all channel us to a specific source. And this source is then channeled from our higher self. So our higher self will bring us whatever wisdom and understanding we require at that specific time. So it's a very personal experience. So we can choose any of the 22 energies, divine energies, to contemplate on, and we'll receive divine wisdom and understanding on that specific task. So for example, if I want to start working on my health and balance, and how could what changes can I make in my life today to manifest a healthier habits, a more balanced lifestyle. In tarot, I would work with the major arcana tarot card, Temperance. So it's the 14th major arcana tarot card, Temperance. Or if I'm working with letters of the Hebrew alphabet, it's a Samer. So you work with the letter Samer. But let's say Temperance. I have the major arcana tarot card, Temperance. Actually, let me grab my cards here. I'll show, so it'll be much more visual. So this is Temperance. So the 14th major arcana tarot card. So what I do, if I want to, embody this divine energy, and I want to channel this knowledge and understanding, wisdom and understanding, all I do is I will do this for 3 consecutive days. I stare at the card for 10 minutes, first thing in the morning, and I just question everything about this card. Okay, who's this person? Where is this person? Why is she doing that? What's on her forehead, her chest? Where is she? So you're mentally and silently questioning everything in your mind, or anything that comes to mind. Just silently question everything. Explore the world within this image. Allow yourself to be captivated within this world. And then as you're doing this exercise for 10 minutes, you also remain open to receive. And you'll start receiving from your higher self a message, a sensation. You might feel something. You might see something, hear something. You might recall a dream you had. You might recall something that happened in the past. So as you're receiving now, you're through your physical or spiritual senses, whatever you're receiving, you take note of that in your journal. Journaling is extremely important when we're working with self-healing or raising our state of consciousness. Because then when you're rereading your notes, all the experiences that happen that sometimes we're not conscious of will resurface in our consciousness, and wow, it's like something clicks in our mind, and wow, everything pours in.
Right.
So you do this for 10 minutes. You contemplate on temperance for 3 consecutive days. But if you're doing that first thing in the morning, you then have to remain conscious of this experience the entire day. So the entire day you remain conscious, and you'll start seeing that this energy will manifest itself through a personal experience that you'll have during that day, or you'll just notice something happening around you with people around you, and it will completely bring you back to this experience. And now you've actually manifested a personal experience with a divine energy, which is a very powerful experience. So that happens, you take a note of that, and then you'll see, you can either reread your notes after the 3 days or a week later, and just it'll click. You'll start receiving this wisdom and understanding that's aligned with your current state of consciousness. So if you repeat this next year, when you've raised your state of consciousness, your experience will be completely different. It'll keep proceeding. So this is when you want to just get wisdom and understanding based on something specific you want to change within your life. I'll give you another example that's very powerful. Let me get the cards. So something I want to mention though is there's no terrifying or bad cards in tarot that's going to be the end of the world, right? A lot of people fear the death card. So I'll show you the death card. This has nothing to do with physical death. This is a beautiful card that we can embody when there's something about you that you know that it's no longer serving you. It's no longer helping you. It's holding you back. It's hurting you and your relationships. And you're aware of it. You just don't know how to end this habit. The divine energy of death allows you now to be conscious of what's holding this energy within yourself, and then allows you to let it go. And once you let it go, it's as if you have this huge burden off your shoulders, and wow, you feel alive again. You're able to move forward and to grow. So whatever is holding you back, you're not sure of how to let it go. We work with death. So death is a powerful, beautiful energy, divine energy to work with, which has nothing to do with physical death that so many people fear. All right. So that's the first thing we need to end as this misconception of tarot is a death card is not a physical death. It's a beautiful energy we could work with. So this is, when you really want to pinpoint something about yourself that you just want to understand more how to go about it, this is what we do. If you want to raise your entire state of consciousness, it's the same principle, but we need to manifest a personal experience with each of these 22 divine energies. So every day you start with the Fool. This is the first major arcana tarot card, and you end with the World, the 22nd. So each day you do one major arcana tarot card. So you do this for 22 days. And again, throughout the entire day, a specific experience will manifest itself, and you take notes of everything in your journal. If for any reason you meditate, you contemplate it on a major arcana tarot card, and during that day, you just either you didn't realize it, you didn't pay attention, but you never felt that you've experienced that personal divine energy as an experience, you can just bring that card back at the end of the cycle. And then when you finish these 22 days of contemplation, you just pick a day you can just sit by yourself. You can put some music on, incense, whatever brings you in a calm state of mind, and you reread all your notes. And as you're rereading all your notes, you have to make sure you bring every experience, give it time for it to resurface in your consciousness. And once you've read all your notes and everything is resurfaced in your consciousness, it's like a big puzzle, and then it all just comes together. And it shows you this beautiful picture. And you'll feel that, wow, you've reached this new level in life and this new perspective in life, this new understanding, and now you're able to step forward. And again, we can also transmute anything now within ourselves or a relationship. So as they say, the philosopher's stone is believed to transmute any heavy or base metal like lead into gold. My belief is that this concept doesn't really, it's not really about transmuting lead into gold. It's about transmuting lead, which is a lower state of consciousness, into gold, which is a higher state of consciousness. So anything within yourself that, any conflicts that you're having, you feel that you're always carrying this negativity or a thought pattern, or whatever it is that you say, it's time to really wow, go beyond this, reinvent yourself, transform yourself. You complete this 22 days of contemplation to raise your state of consciousness, but with an intention. So before you begin every day, you always state the intention. What is it that you want to transmute? And every day you go through all these 22 days of contemplation with your intention. And then once you complete and you reread your notes, you'll raise your state of consciousness that allows you to transmute this that you desired.
It seems like a very accessible way for people to get into tarot, which is one of the questions that I was going to ask you. It's what is the best way for people to introduce themselves to tarot cards and these practices?
Of course. So just talk a bit about tarot, because I mean, I've had festivals about tarot right before COVID hit too, and my big objective of these festivals, and I had all, the international authors in my festival, my focus was really to break the misconception of tarot. Okay. It's not just a tool for fortune telling and divination. It's way beyond that. Okay. It's so much more. It's really a tool that anybody could learn, anybody can use for personal development, spiritual growth, and raising our state of consciousness, or even transmuting anything within us. So that's the first thing we need to understand. We can all learn to use this tool for our own personal self. And so once we have this, yes, we can jump right into it and just use it as a tool to contemplate on. And the beautiful part about contemplating is that you're actually developing a personal experience with each of these cards, that then every time you're reading tarot, after, let's say you want to, you're going to draw a card in the morning, and just ask a simple question that's, what should I be conscious of today? What should I be aware of today? If a specific card comes out that you already associated or established a personal connection with a personal experience, that's the best way to learn tarot, is once you've established that connection. So that's always step one, is, get your cards, start contemplating on them. And something else you do is you just shuffle your card first thing in the morning, draw one card. But as you're shuffling, you just keep repeating this question in your mind: what should I be conscious of today? And you draw just one card, and that you have to develop a personal relationship with each card, because then you can use tarot for yourself, or even for others, but when you use it for yourself, to raise your state of consciousness. And if you're going to start doing readings after for yourself or for others, you'll be able to do so because you've already established all these personal connections with the cards. And that's the best way to learn tarot. Yes, it's very important, I would say maybe read one book before to get, a basic understanding, a basic knowledge of, all the different cards in the tarot. Like they're split into two separate, the minor arcana, the major arcana. But once you've read your book, then just put the book aside and you don't memorize any meanings of the cards, because what you want to do is develop your own personal relationship with the cards. But then when you want to start doing a reading for yourself or for others, I always follow specific rules that only ask questions that concern you directly. Or if you're doing a reading for someone else, make sure they only ask questions that concern them directly. Don't start tapping into what I always say, it's like spiritual spying. So many people would come see me and say, I want to know what my husband is up to. What are you doing? Or what are my kids doing? You don't do that. You have to respect tarot as a tool for your personal growth. You want to understand your life, how you can grow, how you can help. It's a sacred tool that you can use for that aspect. And you can use, like I said, you can use it to do readings for others and help others. But you always have to make sure that you're providing them, giving them wisdom and understanding, giving them things that concern them directly. You're helping them grow. And of course, it's fun. When some say, when you're first starting off, use it as a tool for entertainment, but just for yourself, to try and sort of predict what's happening. You ask a question: what's going to happen with this event tomorrow? And you draw one card or three cards, but it's a personal exercise for you to start understanding how's your intuition speaking to you when you're looking at these cards. Because again, these tarot cards, they're symbolic, they're symbols, and you have to learn how yourself will speak to you through your intuition. So it takes a lot of practice. But step one, for sure, contemplation is the best path, because you're raising your state of consciousness, you're gaining wisdom and understanding while learning tarot. So it's a powerful way of going with that. And if anyone is interested in doing contemplation, on my website, goldenlightacademy.com, I try and share as much free content and free resources as I can. That's really my objective. If you just click on free resources, you can click on raising our state of consciousness. Everything is written there in detail on all the exercises, everything you can do. And if you don't own a tarot deck, I have all the images on there for you to contact. All the 22 major arcana tarot cards are there that allows you to do your contemplation session every day.
So it works just as well to look at the image on the screen as it does to have card in hand?
I prefer the physical card. That's my personal choice. But if you don't have a tarot deck, you can work with the image. I mean, you'll still connect with that image. The symbols are there, the colors are there. That will work as well.
Right. So it's really not about the cards themselves, but about the symbol and about your connection that you develop.
100%, because I mean, a tarot card is not a magical item. There's nothing magical. It's paper. It's a cardboard. The image, the symbolism, the colors. It's like I said, a tarot card is like a key that unlocks a door in your consciousness. As you're contemplating, you allow yourself to enter within this world. And that's how it identifies the door to unlock in your consciousness, and it lets the wisdom and understanding pour into your consciousness. So that's how you have to look at a tarot card. So it's nothing, magical, or that, it's not within that physical piece of paper that the magic is happening. Everything happens in our consciousness. That's why our consciousness is extremely important. We need to take care of it. And when we'll talk later about self-healing, but when you start feeling that your state of consciousness is dropping, and you start feeling overwhelmed with fears or depression, that's a sign that you're dropping. So you have to raise your state of consciousness, which means you have to do this 22 days of contemplation to raise it. And some might have to do it several times. I enjoy doing it at least once a year. I do this exercise, sometimes several times a year, because every time you're doing it, you're growing, you're learning so much more.
Right. So you mentioned also that each card is related to a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, right? What is it about the Hebrew alphabet that holds such powerful meaning? Okay,
so the difference now, I use tarot when I really want to work with a state of consciousness. It's my personal development and growth. I start working with the letters of the Hebrew alphabet when I'm doing magic. Okay, but not magic. We don't spell it M-A-G-I-C. It's not illusions or tricks. When we spell it with a C-K at the end, M-A-G-I-C-K, we're actually manifesting a positive change within that is aligned with our will and our higher self, okay? Or if we're doing healing on ourselves, or I'm doing healing on others. So for example, if I take temperance, so health and balance when I do healing, Samer, do I have, I have it in the book, my book. Let me show you the letter so we can show, if I could find it here, voila. So this is Samer. So this is the letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Samer, which is associated with the exact same divine energy as temperance is. But the way I work with the letter of the Hebrew alphabet is through visualization. So in the beginning, you're looking at this symbol, and grab it here again. And if I ask you to close your eyes and visualize it, you're gonna have a hard time to visualize it. You have to, and some letters are very complicated. So what I do in the beginning is I simply, and this is not gonna work on a screen. You have to do this with a printed version, because you're gonna stare at this letter about a foot away from your face, or 2 feet away from your face, and stare at the letter for a minute or 2 minutes without blinking. You don't blink until your eyes, they start to burn. And you're really going to start seeing a shimmering glow around the entire letter. You're actually burning the image into your consciousness. And once that happens, you can close your eyes and you'll see the image shining bright in your consciousness. Okay. And you keep practicing that until, the first time you do it, it's going to last a second, then it's going to disappear. So you keep practicing that until you're able to keep it, 10 seconds, whatever, 15 seconds. And then the second step to that is, once you do this and now the letter dissipates, you practice yourself without opening your eyes or looking at the image again to bring it back to your consciousness. So what you're going to do now is, I use my 2 fingers, with my eyes closed, so I stare at the letter, my eyes start to burn, I start seeing the shimmering glow around the letter. I close my eyes, I put the book down. So now I'm visualizing right in my mind, my third eye, the letter shining brightly. Let's say it lasts only 5 seconds. What I do now is I extend my right arm with my 2 fingers extended, and I'm sort of in with my eyes closed, painting in my consciousness the shape of the letter. But as I'm painting, I'm not painting with sort of white light for the image to reappear. You have to remain conscious that you're actually carving out the darkness from your mind. And as you're carving out the darkness from your mind in the shape of the letter, you're allowing the divine light to pour into your consciousness and fill your consciousness. And now that's going to allow you, now you start, once you get used to it now with this exercise, to bring back the image shining bright in your mind again. So you start doing this exercise back and forth, then you stay again, the image, the letter shining bright. And then when it starts to fade again, you start carving out the darkness again. So you do that for us until you're capable of, without staring at the letter, to just close your eyes and you're able to see the image. You're able to actually manifest it in your consciousness. And when you get to that level, and look, we're all different, we're all unique. Some it might take a couple of sessions, some it might take a couple of months to be able to just close your eyes and visualize the letter perfectly. But every time you're visualizing, it might just last a couple of seconds, but then you'll reach a point where you no longer need to carve it out. Once it fades, you have the power to just bring the light back in and it pours in again. So it happens all naturally. So you're able to keep that letter in your consciousness for as long as you desire. So when you get to this level now, we're able to do this. You meditate and you bring this letter. And since it's connected with the divine energy of health and balance, you're able to bring it wherever you want in your physical body to bring in healing. You're actually doing sort of healing on yourself. Or if you're doing healing on others, you're able to, it's in your consciousness to carry it forward onto someone on a specific, body part, to just bring divine energy on a specific place to do healing. So this is what magic is really, it's doing, but it always has to be filled with love. It's the rule number one. You cannot do this for any negative aspects or anything, or because someone is forcing you to do it. You have to love this experience. When you're doing it, you have to feel love and happiness and joy. And then you have to do it, again, like I said, it has to be aligned with your will. It's something you want to do, and with your higher self. So it's something that's going to benefit your growth of your higher self. Otherwise, it will not work. So this is something. So it's more of an advanced technique. So once you've worked a lot with the tarot, this would be like the next level. But I mean, I still work with tarot. I still work with the letters. I work with everything because it depends what you want to accomplish. So for the state of consciousness, for me, it's always I work with the tarot. And when I'm working with magic, it's the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So that's, how you distinguish both. But the root is always the same divine energy. And it's the same, and they're both associated with the path of the Kabbalah. So like the Kabbalah is actually part of the Jewish mysticism. And it's, I'll show you just a quick picture here from my book. Let me find it here. So for those who don't know the Kabbalah, there's 10 Sephiroth, so 10 circles with 22 paths. So these are all the divine energies. So when we're actually raising our state of consciousness, the reason why that happens is because we've actually manifested a positive experience with each of these paths of the Kabbalah. And once you do that, all these paths are manifested. So this is a hidden Sephara, so it's usually hidden. But once you have a personal experience with all the 22 paths, it's that is revealed. And that brings you divine knowledge. And Malkuth, which is at the bottom, rises to Kether. So it's as if the tree rises. And now you find yourself back in Malkuth, and you're able to rise your consciousness once more, your state of consciousness. So you keep climbing this tree over and over again as you desire to keep raising your state of consciousness.
So that's referred to as the tree of life, right?
Exactly. That's the tree of life.
Awesome. You mentioned also in your book that there's no such thing as coincidences. And it kind of ties into what you mentioned before about visualizing and manifesting, based on the tarot card that you're contemplating. How universal is that? When you say that there's no such thing as coincidences, is everything that happens to us in our life a manifestation of our consciousness?
Not necessarily. If it's a coincidence, it means everything, it's irrelevant, doesn't really mean anything. But first thing I need to say is that once you start this journey of personal development, spiritual growth, or doing contemplation, a lot of things are going to happen. You're going to start waking up in the middle of the night or waking up first thing in the morning with just knowledge in your mind, so much information. You have to take notes of everything, okay? Then, because that's your higher self sending you all these messages. And then the next thing that happens is you're going to start realizing throughout the day, there's just so much synchronicities that are happening. They're not just coincidences. These are actual messages. They're guidance showing you the path that you need to follow, that you're heading in the right direction, that you're doing something that's contributed to your soul's growth. So you need to pay attention when something seems like just a coincidence or something is just so synchronistic. There's a message behind it. So it's not just irrelevant. And what I always say, again, go back to contemplation, just take a moment and just think about what just happened. What does that mean to you? What were you doing? What were you thinking when you thought this experience was just a coincidence? Think back, and what happened yesterday? What happened today? And you'll start fitting these pieces of puzzle, and then you'll realize this is just there's a synchronicity in this, and it's all tied into your higher self showing you the path for your spiritual development, for your spiritual growth.
That's so cool. I think it's something that's really easy for people to just write off, and they may be having these profound experiences without even realizing it because they don't give themselves the credit that they're actually manifesting something of importance.
Exactly.
Another thing that you mentioned in your book is about deja vu and how that has significance as well. Tell me a little bit about that, because I've always been super curious about that. You have these moments where you would swear that you've lived through this before many times over, and it's such an uncanny feeling. What's that about?
It's interesting that you brought that up. Actually, I mean, I used to have so many deja vu episodes in the past. Lately, I haven't had any, but through time, I mean, the first thing I always, again, contemplation is key, right? When you're in this spell, contemplate, and you'll receive this understanding of what's trying, to receive as a message. I have these two theories with deja vu, and I've never been able so far to finalize this theory because I mean, it's a couple of years now. I haven't had any, but the first theory, it's as if, okay, so time is an illusion of the physical material realm. Right? It's linear here, but in the spiritual realm, for higher self or divine soul, time, past, present, and future is all happening at the same time. So one of my theories is that we sometimes have these spontaneous rise of our state of consciousness because we need to realign with our higher self. Okay, sometimes it's evoked, it's unconscious, it just occurs. And during this fraction of a second, when we realign with our higher self, our higher self being present in the past, present, and future is aware of what's about to happen in the next couple of seconds, the next couple of minutes. So it's as if there's this off sync that happens with our current consciousness and our higher self seeing exactly what's happening. So you have this sort of double connection with our consciousness. So this is because we're sort of caught in this in-between state. My other theory, which is I always think is super interesting, is that our higher self being present, being there in the past, present, and future, lives. I mean, we live countless of lives, right? Until our soul matures, until our soul grows, and we finish all these sort of lessons that we need to have. So once our soul is fulfilled, then it could move on. But as we're having all these thousands or hundreds of lives experiences here on the physical material plane, for our higher self, it's all happening at the same time, right? But for us, we might have hundreds of other lives happening. They're all on different dimensions. So they're all happening simultaneously at different dimensions. And I always believe that when we find ourselves at the same time, at the same place, and at the same circumstances with other lives, there's this connection that forms because we're all holding the same lower aspect of our divine state of consciousness. So we're all holding this lower aspect of our state of consciousness. And when we all find ourselves in the same time, place, circumstance, it just connects. And we're all connecting, and we're actually seeing, the alternate dimension.
That is such a cool theory.
And there's talks of, there's been talks of, we're able to jump dimensions back and forth, and that's what sort of traveling through time is you actually just jumping from one dimension to another and not really jumping, in the past or in the future. Yes, go on.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to I have this fascination with movies and Hollywood and messages that are kind of, like how, like the Matrix and things like that. I feel like a lot of information is given to people through popular culture and Hollywood, and that there's actual deep meaning within it, which is kind of like a veiled meaning, that we
Hmm.
it's played off
It's hidden.
as played off it's hidden, it's played off as fiction, but there's actual truth to it. And I wonder if all of this new interest and about multiverses in movies is something that's a reflection of that, like what you just spoke about,
I
like how the
come.
Marvel multiverse is happening with the Spider-Man
I
crossing over
I've
from.
been. That's been one of my theories forever. Everything coming through the movies, it's a way of not preparing us, but just, for us to adjust. And if we just look into it, we'll realize it. But it's not only the big blockbusters, it's all the Disney movies. I have three kids. So part of 90% of everything I watch is cartoons and movies for kids. And all these Disney movies, just, the other weekend, watching things with my daughter, and it's like, there's so many more depths and layers within that it's all like subliminal hidden knowledge, and these are things that you'll realize yourself once you start raising your state of consciousness. And once you reach enlightenment, all these answers will be answered for you, everything. And you'll notice, and then when you're watching a film with, like you said, the multiverse, you'll see the truth in everything. Like I said, what Dr. Strange does, manipulating time and all these symbols that he's using, these are, yes, it's highly exaggerated, but these are things that we can control and can do. Not that you can reverse time and stuff like that, but again, magic has to do with manifesting a positive change within, something that's going to benefit you, is going to allow you to grow further, that's coming from a place of love. We have that power. Okay, so in the movies, they exaggerate it and they sort of put this veil over it. But we can easily look behind that veil and see the truth behind it. Every movie, especially The Matrix. I mean, Keanu Reeves always says it. It's a documentary film. There's truths behind everything. The same thing when he shows the concept of God and the concept of the higher self, the soul, and all the lives happening simultaneously. There's facts there, exaggerated, portrayed differently. But that's a conversation I always have with my brother. We always have this talk how movies, and Star Wars, one of my favorite movies of all time, the light and darkness. That's something we need to be conscious of. I mean, if we want to move forward as a human or humanity, and reach these higher levels of consciousness and vibration, we need to realize that our reality is not just physical. Our reality is that it's a perfect balance of light and darkness, a perfect balance of physical and spiritual. And with this balance, there's also good and evil. If you look at Star Wars, this whole battle with light against darkness, is so much truth in that movie. The Jedi, that same thing as a light worker or a priest. But the thing with the Star Wars, it's a movie. Everything is portrayed as physical. They're all physical aliens and people and persons. When you start understanding the reality behind that, and you start connecting with the spiritual realm, and you understand what remains physical and where darkness resides at our actual lower state of consciousness. If you start dropping your states of consciousness, it won't be too long before these negative energies or entities will start sort of holding on to you, and they'll start draining your energy. And as they start draining your energy, you'll start dropping lower and lower in your state of consciousness. And what that happens is you're going to start having these mental illnesses, falling to depression, and then you're falling into an endless pit of darkness and never being able to come out of that. And that's one of the other things that I help is, how do you raise out of a spell of depression? And again, it's simply by raising your state of consciousness and then raising your vibration. And I share everything for free on my website, Golden Light Academy, free resources. You raise your state of consciousness, then you raise your vibration. You're able to sort of repel these negative energies and lingering energies that are, they torment us. They torment our mental body with all kinds of stuff. That's something everyone needs to realize. This is a reality that we live in. And so much in Star Wars is, once you just put it to what their true reality is, that it's some things are physical, and then there's two other things. One thing is spiritual, the high realms, high vibrations, positive, and then the lower vibration, the lower state of consciousness, which is evil, it's darkness. And that's a struggle humanity has been facing since the beginning. It's the world has this balance of light and darkness. It'll always remain. It's up to you to realize it, to take that in control. And all you have to do is raise your vibration state of consciousness. And that's how you're empowered. And always with love. Once you're filled with love and you do this, there's no longer anything negative that could, hold on to you, drain your energy, or torment you with thoughts or visions or any other thing.
Right. And on the topic of negativity and dark energy, I think this is somewhat related. We spoke about it a little bit in our last conversation, but then I reread it in your book, and I think there's been a lot of advancement in this area over the past 2 years. It's the creation of the virtual realm and its deterioration of our state of consciousness,
yes,
and the destabilization, as you say in the book, of our four bodies. Over the past 2 years, the virtual realm has kind of grown even further. Many people are working remotely. We're spending more time on our devices. We've been separated physically from each other, and investing more time into the virtual reality. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and how things have progressed over the past couple of years in that regard.
Yes. So just to bring back what we spoke about last time, is that something else we need to understand about our reality, our physical spiritual reality, is that we have a physical body, but we also have an energetic mental body, an energetic emotional body, and an energetic spiritual body, apart from our higher self. These are the four bodies that we have here in this physical material world. So with every experience that we have, whether physical or spiritual, contributes to our growth. They're important. We need these to maintain a balance within this world. But now with social media, online games, the metaverse that's coming out, our whole reality is going to be online now, working remotely, or any other sort of spiritual or not spiritual, any other virtual experience that we may have. Something that they do is that they take away our opportunity for growth, because it excludes anything that's physical or spiritual is gone. So it's really, there's no more physical interaction or spiritual. We can sense it's a different reality. And what happens now is that our mental body, our mental energetic body, and our emotional energetic body, they're overstimulating. They're overstimulating because they have to compensate now for instead of four bodies, those are the only two bodies that are actually in play now. And that's contributing now to compulsive obsessive behaviors. And it's lowering our attention span. And it's definitely affecting our children. Like I said, during the lockdowns, I've been going into elementary schools to help the kids with teaching them meditation techniques, because this is what's happening. Is another thing that I want to talk about is online games. Our kids, I have kids that, I'm not sure if you've heard of the online game Roblox. Mm-hmm. So it's just like virtual world. There's all kinds of stuff happening in this game, but the actual description of Roblox is an endless virtual candy store of free multiplayer games. What happens if, let's just say,
they're not even trying to hide what they're doing.
We take a child, let's just say we bring him to a candy store, we leave him there for 4 hours, all the candies are free. You do that every single day. How's that going to contribute to a healthy development for a child? That's the same concept of what's happening. And I'm not saying nobody should play Roblox. I think technology is important for our kids, because that's the future. That's where we're headed. We need our kids to be exposed to technology, but it has to be balanced. It has to be it has to be measured. And every child is different. One child might be playing these video games for 4 hours and he's fine. He's still balanced. He's in control. Others might play half an hour, because it's like everything is available for them. It's like there's so many free multiplayers and they could do anything. Half an hour, it's just they get overloaded with content, and it's like really they lose the balance of their four bodies, and that's it. They start with all anger and anxiety, and they can't handle that. So it's a per child basis. It has to be controlled how much they're exposed to, and if these type of games, your child is very sensitive to them, maybe there's other types of technology that can, they allow them to learn this, the world that we're living in, without them having to undergo these problems with these games that are just, it's just too much. It just, so much is happening.
I think you said a key word that really stuck out to me, which was being overloaded with content, because that is something that I feel personally I struggle with at times. And I know that it's a ridiculous thing to get stressed out about having too many movies to watch, or I'm behind on this show, or oh, my video game collection is getting large. I haven't made my way through these yet. It's a very ridiculous thing to weigh on you, but I feel that it does at times, and it's hard in this day and age to kind of break away from that. You need to really tell yourself, no, I need to put all of this aside. This is not real life. It's not important. And get back to the fundamentals that you were talking about, just like being connected and mindful of yourself, aware of your surroundings, and just get rid of all of that stuff for a while until you can balance yourself.
That's why I said that's when a mindfulness meditation practice is extremely important. And we need to get back to and not just physical mindfulness, but also spiritual. Practicing, developing your intuition, developing your visualization skills. Because it's really our physical and spiritual bodies that are completely neglected, and that's what creates the imbalance. So we need to nurture these two bodies through mindfulness exercises that are extremely important.
There's one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, which we did touch upon briefly last time, which was the use of psychedelics and achieving I guess you could call it enlightenment in some sense through that, because when we first spoke, I had not experienced this before, but I have now, and I can speak on it with a little bit more authority. In that, when you said before, when you described achieving a state of enlightenment before through meditation, that seems like pretty much what I experienced using psilocybin as a tool. That sense of almost euphoria, that connectedness, that oneness, just love pouring through you, and everything is great and nothing can bother me. And that was essentially what I felt the first time that I did it. I thought it was so amazing, and it's like I had all the answers right in front of me.
Did you remain within your body? You remain conscious of your body, or did you enter a trance and you were gone?
I was not completely gone. It was a little bit like in and out. I kind of like would go dive deep into it and then say, all right, that's enough for now. And then, because I was also with somebody, I was with my brother who was taking notes on the things that I would say. So he was kind of like documenting as I was, and asking me questions. So I would respond to him with my thoughts and things like that. And I was exploring a lot within, and then I would come out and tell him what I experienced. And then I would kind of go back in. So that's how I did it.
I've personally never experienced it, but I have, how can I say, explored it through my higher self. And my understanding, and you can correct me since you've actually did it, is when you're doing that, and there's different types of you can do, it puts you in an alternate state of consciousness where you're receiving wisdom and understanding on something that you'd like to, because you can be prepared when you're going to that with something specific. You can achieve the exact same wisdom and understanding through contemplation. So you're receiving the same source, okay? Your path is different. So for sure with psychedelics, it's more vivid. There's more, your sensation are all going. The message you're receiving is the same, but sometimes you cannot control the message, right? Whereas when you're contemplating, it's very direct. This is really what I want to get. You're in control of the situation, and it arrives. There's other things that you can do, like psychedelics, let's say like LSD or these crazier things. So what happens at that point is that, because you can use this to embody, to get wisdom and understanding of something specific. But if you're doing these more powerful drugs, what happens is that all of the wisdom and understanding that you currently require today to raise your state of consciousness is all given to you at once. So instead of contemplating one day at a time for 22 days and getting all the wisdom on separate days, and everything's very controlled and pacefully, and after 22 days, you're able to, wow, you get this enlightenment, you raise your state of consciousness. Within that time frame, everything is being bombarded to you, and it's an overwhelming experience. And you're receiving all the exact same wisdom and understanding, but there's so much happening, it's hard for you to grasp everything. So
Yeah.
you'll come out of that and you have bits and pieces here, there, and there.
Yes. It was quick to kind of dissipate after it faded. And it left me feeling exhausted. It was a fantastic experience. I was kind of like on cloud nine for like a good week afterwards, feeling that everything was amazing, but it was difficult to retain all of the information for
Mhm.
sure.
And now the second step, which I mentioned about when you really start raising your state of consciousness and your vibration, and you'll reach this point where you reach enlightenment. When you're doing these types of drugs, they're how can I say, they're really within your physical body. Okay, and when you're reaching enlightenment, it's as if you need a cleanse of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies need to be fully cleansed, and then you're able to really let go of these layers, and your state of consciousness is just gone. You completely leave, and when you return, it's a very clean transition. It's you've entered a trance. You're not even conscious of your physical body. You can't even talk or listen because you're literally you're gone. You have this beautiful spiritual experience, and then you're returning. So that's something I don't believe that doing. Let's say like LSD or mushrooms or these other types that will bring you to a state of enlightenment. It'll definitely bring you wisdom and understanding, powerful wisdom and understanding. If you're doing it, controlled, you'll be able to grasp that knowledge. If you're doing it with an intention before doing it, you'll get that answer. But sometimes, and you'll know that sometimes there's so much happening, and sometimes you'll get lost in the message. It's a beautiful experience, but that's something that's more, it's heavy on the physical body. And because it's heavy on the physical body, it's not allowing you to reach enlightenment. So if you desire to have enlightenment, it's really after going through a path of doing, it's really a cleanse, it's really spiritual, and it's a different experience. But definitely it'll bring you the same wisdom and understanding as you're raising your state of consciousness. And like I said, you can keep raising your state of consciousness many, many times, because some require to raise it several times before they reach enlightenment. So that's it. But definitely it's always a positive experience because it's enlightening as well, because something can be enlightened. It could be an enlightenment experience without it being you reach enlightenment. So there's two different variations for that.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that the intention, as you mentioned, has a lot to do with it, because I had two experiences. One of them, the first one, was extremely positive, and my intention going in was exactly what we described before: wisdom about reality and about the world. And I feel like that's what I was given for that period. And the second one was more about, I guess I had a less of a well-defined intention. I was doing it with another friend as opposed to by myself.
Mhm.
And it was a much darker and heavier experience for me.
Mhm. That's
So
something else you have to always be aware of. Like I said before, the reality of a physical spiritual world, the reality of light and darkness. Like we talk about, let's say it could be like a back trip, right? It's if something goes, negative, and you start dropping your vibration, because like I said, it's very heavy on the physical body. It'll drop your physical vibration. If there's anything lingering around, it'll start latching onto you. And even though you come back and you feel back to normal, you still have these negative energies latching onto your energy. So you always feel like starting slowly draining. And with time, not only is it draining your energy, it's going to start lowering your state of consciousness. So I'm not saying it's always going to happen. I'm not saying don't do it. It's but make sure your statement before is defined. The setting. That's why they say sometimes you need a shaman, because the setting has to be, a positive setting to make sure that your physical vibration and your state of consciousness doesn't drop below, because then that'll just set you back for a while to bring yourself back.
yep, that makes total sense. So I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. Thank you once again for having this conversation with me. It's always a fun time.
That's my pleasure, always.
What do you have? What are you working on now? Is there anything that you want to mention? I know you have the Golden Light Academy. What else is going on with you?
So that's it. So right now, really focusing on the Golden Light Academy. I'm really trying to share as much free knowledge as possible to help anyone that's struggling with mental health, or guiding anyone that's looking for, they want to grow, they want to have, they want to develop, they want to grow, they want to start their spiritual journey, or even they want to start, practicing meditation to reach enlightenment. So I share everything for free on the free resources on my website. There's much more content I want to publish. And I'm also available for any private sessions. Some they like to have, once in a while, just a touch back of how things are going. And so I have these private sessions that they can book online. And then there's other thing that I'm working also on is just sharing more knowledge on self-healing. And because, when we're talking about healing, the first thing we need to understand is that, as we live our life, from 7 to 20 to 30 years old, we have so many experiences, right? And it's normal that sometimes we suppress a lot of energies, a lot of experiences, even traumas. We suppress everything. Once we reach our 30s, we have the opportunity to actually learn of all the past experiences and learn that everything, whether good or bad, there's a lesson, there's a purpose for growth. There's an opportunity for growth. And we need to realize these things. So, and meditation can help us do that, but we need to realize these things to release everything that we've suppressed through the years. Because if we don't suppress all these energies and we start reaching our 40s, our physical body is going to reach a point where it can no longer hold on to everything that's suppressed, everything that we have bottled in. And most of the time, everything that we have is all unconscious. We've completely forgotten about them. That's why meditation is extremely important, to allow us to let's just go deep within and see, and open the channel and bring everything resurface back to the consciousness, realize it, accept it, and then, wow, we're able to release it. Because if not, that's how, the physical body is going to release them through illnesses or diseases or depression. It's going to lower vibration on our state of consciousness. So this, again, I'm working on trying to do as much content to publish on, helping everyone understand all that. I'm working on a script. I'm not sure with the script, if it's going to be for a film, or is it going to be for a series? Is it going to be for a live show in front of an audience? I'm not sure, but through the past 2 years, I've gathered all the content from the past, all the experiences I've had, everything that I've learned, all the spiritual experiences I've had, and trying to put something together, so that's what I'm doing on the side as well. So we'll see what's the end product is going to be. But that's exciting.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing all of that. Some very powerful, great tools that you have available, and much needed right now, I think. So everybody check that out. And where can people follow you online?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So David Lacopo on both, and on my website, goldenlightacademy.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Let's do it again.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.